So for this book, you also went to Israel, and you have been very critical of Israel's treatment of the Palestinians. Can you put it in the context? I'm not sure whether you went for this trip for the reporting before or after October the 7th, but put what you found in the context of those attacks.
Yeah, I did. It was May 2023. And like I said, I went to the West Bank. I went to, cities throughout Israel. I went to Haifa, Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, South Hebron Hills, Ramallah. And the one thing that people told me the whole time I was there was, you have to go to Gaza. That turned out to be a lot more difficult than I wanted. It was 10 days. And then when I came back, I was trying to, get back. I was supposed to go in October, and for obvious reasons, I could not go. Look, my politics are the politics of nonviolence. There is nothing within that politics that can watch 1,000 people be murdered, be massacred, and be okay with that and think that that is somehow justified. The only thing I would add to that, which I will insist on and think is very, very important, I wish that this country was more interested in Gaza before October 7th. Gaza was described to me while I was over there as the largest open-air jail in the world. Like I said, I did not see it for myself. I wanted to. I was not able to. But we're part of that. We're part of the maintenance of that. And the evidence for that fact was everywhere around me during my trip.
People will say, I mean, the conversation around just the region prior to October 7th is that it's complicated. People say, oh, it's not as black and white as folks try to make it seem. It's complicated. There's nuance there. But you write that what you saw reminded you of the Jim Crow South. There are people that would say, this is not that.
I would tell them to go. I would tell them to go. I would tell them drive down the roads in the West Bank where you are only allowed to go certain places if you're either Palestinian or you're Israeli settler. I would tell them to go to Hebron and watch how people whose ancestors have lived there for generations can now walk down certain streets. I would ask them to talk to Palestinians about a water system that sees Israelis with access to 4 times as much water as Palestinians. I would ask them whether they think it's okay for a state to label itself as the only democracy in the Middle East and erect citizenship for 1/2 of its population, and for the other half to erect a kind of citizenship or a residency or a stateless status that is somehow less. I don't know how that corresponds with our definitions of what a democracy is. It was immediately familiar to me as somebody who has been raised on the tales of Jim Crow and whose parents were born into Jim Crow.
The complication